Welcome back to the Point Guard Cast with your host Sean and Corey. I'm Corey.
I'm Sean. What's up, man?
How you been doing?
Been all right. How you been?
Been good. I'm excited to get to the second half of the WNBA season.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be nice.
It's gonna be very nice. So we had predictions made for the first half of the season, but unfortunately, it was one of those episodes that we had this summer where the audio got messed up, so we never got to release the episode, which I hate.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I feel like that was a good conversation.
It was, but it's okay because now we get to release our second half season predictions and get to kind of react to the first half of the season. So let's get into some key dates. So season starts August 15th. Got the trade deadline August 21st. Last day of the regular season is September 19th. And then the playoffs begin September 23rd. I think the finals can't go any further than like the third week in October, I think. So hopefully nothing crazy happens to any teams come playoff time because they can't push the finals back too far. Because, of course, NBA season will be started.
Speaking of finals, though, I want to congratulate the ladies for going to Tokyo and winning gold first and foremost.
Of course. Definitely a true dynasty. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they're amazing, man.
They are. So first of all, I'm glad both the men's and the women were able to pull it out.
Yeah, the men were looking a little shaky at the beginning, but it is
right.
What it is.
Hey, the women even had some losses in the beginning that people were like, "What?" But I was like, "There's no need to panic, bro. It's just the beginning. It's just exhibition games. They'll be just fine."
Yeah.
But you're right. Shout out to them for winning it. So let's get into the first half, the current rankings as of the end of the first half of the season. So the 1 seed, you got the Seattle Storm at 16-5.
Yeah.
That was kind of a given. You got the Las Vegas Aces, second seed at 15-6.
Kind of a given as well.
Right. Connecticut Sun, third seed at 14-6. The Minnesota Lynx, the fourth seed at 12-7. Now this one was kind of the Lynx being the fourth seed to me was kind of shocking considering how their season started. But if you see how they ended the first half of the season going on a 7-game win streak, you understand why they're the fourth seed. And to me right now, they're the hottest team in the WNBA. So it makes sense. Chicago Sky, the fifth seed at 10-10. The New York Liberty are the sixth seed at 10-11. I did not see them being the sixth seed.
Yeah, I could say that I didn't expect that. I also didn't expect Chicago to be as low as they are either. But with Candace Parker coming in, but I mean, I guess they needed a little more time to gel than we thought they would have.
Right,
a superstar like that coming in.
Right. Also, I think some of these older teams, some of the teams with vets realize it's a long season. Like we got first half of the season. We got an Olympic break, and then we got the second half of the season where we can really make a playoff push. So I don't think some of these vet-savvy teams are panicking too much,
Yeah, kind of like the LeBron factor, where you kind of wait to the second half of the season and turn the dial up.
Right. I think that's what some of these teams are doing. But, I mean, shout out to the New York Liberty for being the 6th seed, though, to end the first half. Then you got the Phoenix Mercury at the 7th seed at 9-10.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the 8th seed, you got the Washington Mystics at 8-10. I expected the Mystics to be a little low, but they're going to be a team who's going to make a push, especially if they can get Elena Deladon back. So them being at the 8th seed, to me, is no shock, and it's not really a panic. I think I was kind of shocked with Phoenix being so low this year. Having Brittany Griner having a crazy year. Then them having Diana Taurasi, and then them having Skylar Dickens-Smith. I don't know. I just expect them to be a little high. Like, to me, I didn't think they would be anything lower than like a 5th seed.
Yeah.
By the end of the first half.
Even though it's an entire half of the season, it's still a very small sample size. Like, this is like in NBA terms, this is like a 2-3 week period. True.
That is very true. That's something that you're right. That's a good point to bring up because that's something I don't think a lot of people realize. It's this season, WNBA seasons aren't as long as NBA seasons. So
yeah, like the teams don't get as much time to gel together. They're all professionals, but teams don't get that time to gel together.
Right, things take time.
You would need.
That's a good point. So let me get into my predictions because I realize we, of course, didn't get to release the episode, so of course people don't know what we predicted. So for my predictions, I had the Las Vegas Aces being the first seed, which of course are the second seed, but I knew they'd be a top 2 seed. Like them in Seattle, the way those two teams are stacked, they're going to continue to be the top 2 seed for the next couple years.
I also think I had Las Vegas as a top 2 seed in my predictions as well. Right. It just made a lot of sense.
Right, exactly. Especially since they were a team that was able to make it to the finals last year.
Yeah, with injured
missing
players.
So many people. Yeah. De'Erica Hamby was injured. They didn't have Liz Cambage. They didn't have Kelsey Plum. She was coming off an Achilles injury. Like, they had so many injuries, but yet they were still able to make it to the finals. Now, unfortunately, they got swept by Seattle in the finals. But to me, it just showed that if they have at least one of those players back,
they would have been,
it would have been more competitive, or they really had a chance to win. Yeah, exactly. So I knew that they would be a top seed this year. So then I had the Seattle Storm, the 2 seed, given. Had the Phoenix Mercury as the 3 seed. Mm-hmm. The way that they lost last year in the playoffs, in the Wubble, I just felt like they were really going to want to redeem themselves for this year. And although, right now they're the 7th seed, doesn't mean necessarily that they won't redeem themselves. It's just that I just thought that they would be a little higher. But I don't think that they'll stay a 7th seed necessarily.
Yeah. I think
for this back half of the season. Go ahead.
I think that, like I said earlier, the sample size is just too small for us to judge.
True.
The sample size is just too small. We don't know. Like, we could, like, a team that's not in the top 8 could end up in the top 8 by the time the season ends because, they catch fire, they get hot for a couple games. They're right back in it.
That's true. That's a very good point. You never know what could happen. These are just predictions, but things we don't account for are things like injuries.
Yeah.
Which is something that also, comes up. So that's a good point. So then the 4th seed, you got the Chicago Sky, which them being the 5th seed right now to me kind of makes sense. But I do think that they could be a 4th seed possibly, or even stay at that 5th seed position. But to me, they'll be a threat in the playoffs no matter what seed they are.
Right.
Especially since I know Candace Parker is going to definitely want to prove something in the playoffs this year with the way things ended with her and the Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
Which I felt like she should have retired at LA Spark, but things work out in different ways. But I mean, you got Candace Parker, Allie Quigley, Diamond DeShields, and Courtney Vandersloot. Like, they'll be just fine. Oh, and Kalia Cooper, they'll be just fine come playoff time, man. It doesn't matter where they end up, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
They're one of those teams that's vet savvy also. And also, they got Candace Parker this year. They'll be just fine. Then I had the Los Angeles Sparks being the 5th seed. Didn't account for injuries hurting them, but also just the roster they had. But see, they've had injuries this year that have hindered them, like China Agumake getting hurt this year. That didn't help them out at all. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the back half of the season. But I do think that them being a 10th seed currently, they might stay at that range for this year.
Right.
I know I predicted them to be higher, but
so did I. I don't have my predictions for what I had in front of me. I didn't write them down. Well, I wrote them down, but they were in my notes somewhere. I think I discarded them because I didn't think the episode was going to come out. But I think I had them around the same area as you had them.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You had them between like 4 and 6.
Yeah.
You thought you probably said the same thing that we thought that they would hurt not having Candace Parker and her leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But even though they wouldn't have Candace Parker. I mean, you got the Agumake sisters, you got Erica Wheeler, they got Chrissy Tolliver. Like, I thought that they would be fine with that, but they struggled a lot this year. So they might not end up being in playoff contention by the end of the year, but that could also flip too. So we'll see what happens with them. Then for my 6th seed, I had the Minnesota Lynx, which I feel like I slept on them a little heavy. Well, first of all, to start the season, it kind of seemed as though I was right about them being the 6th seed.
They started a little bit slow.
But, the back half of the season, their last 7 games, they really turned it up. a lot. They're definitely a team that I could see being even higher than the 4th seed that they are now. So I slept on them a lot. Then at 7, I had the Connecticut Sun. I had them starting out the season slow, but I was going to have them, like, they're currently the 3 seed. My prediction for the second half of the season, I was going to have them like a 3 or 4 seed, but they already are a 3 seed. And to be honest, if there's a team that can take down the Storm or the Aces in the playoffs, it's probably the Sun. It's probably the Connecticut Sun. Jonquel Jones is playing amazing, and DeWanna Bonner always is playing amazing. And they're a really underrated defensive team too.
Yeah.
I don't think I should have slept on them as heavy as I did. And they're definitely making me regret it with them being a 3 seed. So if I believe that there's a team that could take down the Storm or the Aces, it's them. Then for my AC, I had the Dallas Wings. I just felt like the Dallas Wings, with all the picks that they had, all the young talent that they have, that they would start off the season hot. Not hot enough to be like a super high seed, but be in playoff talks at the 8th seed. Now, they're currently the 9th seed, so, I mean, I was only 1 seed off. But the way the season is going with some of the other teams, like the Liberty being great, then you got the Phoenix Mercury, who are going to make a push. I just don't know if they will end up being in playoff contention. It's kind of hard to say. I definitely think the Liberty are a better team than them, and the Liberty are a young team also. But, I mean, it's okay. They're a very young team. They're still kind of in the rebuilding process, so they'll eventually be there. Then I had the Mystics being my 9th seed, even though they're currently the 8th seed. I thought they'll start the season slow, especially seeing now how they've been able to play without Elena Deladon, but they're in playoff contention. If they can get her back, because I know it was rumored that there's a possibility that she can play. If they can get her back, they will be a dangerous team in the playoffs for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
I know that they've been doing really decent without her. You got Tina Charles, who's averaging like 27 right now, 26, 27, leading the league in scoring. Ariel Atkins is doing good for them. They can make it without her, but when you got a player like Elena Deladon, who's got plenty of playoff experience, like you want a player like that when you're trying to make your playoff push. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think regardless, without her, they're still going to make the playoffs. But I think with her, they can go from like an 8th seed to a 6th seed.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. And then for my 10th seed, I had the Liberty.
Yeah.
So I slept on them, but I didn't sleep on them too heavy, I feel like. But I definitely didn't see them being a 6th seed, though. That's very shocking to me.
I believe I predicted the Liberty to be a little high. I believe I predicted the Liberty to be around the 7th, 8th seed.
I think they were your 8th seed.
Yeah,
I think they were your 8th seed. I think what I just slept on was how well Benaja Laney was going to play for them.
Yeah.
Like, her averaging almost 20 right now is crazy. Like, I really slept on how well she was going to play for them. And I think between that and then Sabrina Ionescu's leadership and playmaking and how well Natasha Howard's been playing with them, I think I just didn't see this coming this early.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it is. But I did feel like they would be a team who, if you had a 7th or 8th seed who was kind of only one game in front of them, that they could find a way to sneak into the playoffs as the 8th seed. So, but them being the 6th seed is crazy. But it's good. I know the city of New York is happy between the Knicks finding a way to be a good seed, a high seed in the playoffs, and then now the Liberty are finding their way into the playoffs. I know the city of New York is happy.
We're talking about New York City, yeah, absolutely.
But I do have some second half predictions based off what I've seen in the first half. But I will admit, after my 4th seed, anything can happen. Like, my 5 through 8 to me is a toss-up.
Okay, go ahead.
And the reason why I say that is because I'm taking account into the injuries and things that have happened this season. So for my 1 seed, I do think the Seattle Storm will finish as the 1 seed.
I agree with you. That'll be my 1 seed as well.
I think the Aces will be the 2 seed, even though the Aces are leading the league in net rating, defensive rating, and offensive rating. and the Storm are like right behind them in net rating and offensive rating too. I think the Aces will lose a game or two that they shouldn't, and the Storm won't. And I think that's what'll keep them separate between the 1 and the 2 seed.
I think I would say pretty confidently that I have the Aces second too.
Okay. Yeah, after what I've seen from this season so far, I think them being first and foremost, it doesn't matter which one is 1 or 2. To me, these are the two teams that are going to end up in the finals anyway.
They're on the losing course to the final.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Then for my 3 seed, I got the Lynx.
Okay.
If they can find a way to keep the hot streak going that they had at the end of the first half, again, they had the Olympic break. And to me, the Olympic break is going to change some things for some teams. Some teams it'll help them. Some teams it'll hurt them. Hopefully for the Lynx, they can find a way to keep that momentum going. Again, they won 7 straight games to end the first half of the season to get them to that 4 seed at 12-7. And I think that they can find a way to overtake the Sun and get that 3 seed by the end of the season.
I think I'd leave the Sun at the 3 seed.
You lead the Sun? Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah, I think the Sun can keep the 3 seed.
Again, the way Jonquel Jones has been playing for the Sun, I can see that. I just feel like the way that the Lynx have been playing together, like the way Nafisa Collier and Sylvia Fowles have been playing together, and Kayla McBride, I just feel like they look like the way the Utah Jazz looked in the regular season in the NBA. Yeah, the way that they're clicked together. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. Now in the playoffs, would I have them beating like a Aces team or a Storm team over the Sun? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I do think that they can find a way to be seeded higher than the Sun, the Connecticut Sun. So, but we'll see. For my 5th seed, I have the Chicago Sky. Now again, my 5th through 8th, any of these teams can flip-flop. Yeah, it's really a toss-up. I don't really know what's going to happen with who.
I got the Mercury 5.
Okay, see, I respect that. That's what I mean. Like this, trust me, I got a feeling I'm going to be wrong with 5 through 8 for sure. So I got the Chicago Sky at 5. I got the Phoenix Mercury at 6. Reason why I got them at 6 is because when you have somebody like, when you're playing with people like Brittany Griner, and you got Diana Taurasi, and you got Skylar Diggins-Smith, it really doesn't matter where they're seated, to be honest with you. They could be the 8th seed, and to me, most people are going to pick them to beat anybody else, not name exactly. So they don't have to be a high seed to make noise in the playoffs at all.
They don't, but I think those 3 players that you named are the reason I think they're gonna jump Chicago.
Okay, I can see that. Listen, especially with the way 6. Okay, I agree with that. Especially with the way Brittany Griner is playing this year, she's definitely unstoppable down low this year. She always is, really. But her and Asia Wilson this year, crazy. So then for my 7th seed, I got the Mystics.
You got the Mystics.
Hold on, but I got them at the 7th seed if they can't get Elena Deladon back.
If they can, okay, yeah.
Yes, because it's rumored that there's a possibility that she can come back, and if she does, then I think they'll be higher than the 7th seed for sure. But I got them at 7 just in case she doesn't come back.
You think they'll be even higher than 7 if she comes back?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you think they're jumping the Mercury Sky? It seems like that.
I think they have a chance. Yeah.
Jumping both of them, or just one?
Probably just the Mercury. Again, Tina Charles leading the league in scoring with them at 26, 27 points.
Yeah.
And Ariel Atkins is cooking too. So I believe all they're missing is Elena and her leadership, and they'll be just fine. That's what I feel like they're missing. So if they get Deladon back, they'll be higher than 7th seed to me. If they don't, they're still going to be a playoff contending team. They just won't be seeded very high. But they're still going to be a threat, though. Don't get it twisted. Then my 8th seed, it was a toss-up. But I went with the Liberty.
Yeah.
I went with the Liberty. From what they've shown me so far this season, especially with the way Benaja Laney been playing Natasha Howard, Whitcomb, and Sabrina Ionescu, like, I really feel like, first of all, they're an exciting team to watch. If you haven't got to see the New York Liberty play, watch them. They're very exciting to watch. Their offense is very fast paced, and I think there's been some teams that have been sleeping on them this year, and that's the reason why they're seated in that 6th spot. And so, though I do think they'll drop, just because I think there's teams that are more experienced than them that will make a better push than they will the back half of the season. But I do still think that they will be a playoff contending team, especially since the Sparks, who should probably be in that 7th or 8th spot, have been dealing with injuries and just haven't been that great so far this year.
Yeah.
So it was a toss-up, but I got the Liberty making the playoffs at the 8th seed for me.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about them being at the 8th seed? Possibly.
I think that it's a good chance that it happens. I had them at the 8th seed as well for the second half. I think I had them around the same for the first half, though, right?
Yeah, you did. You had them at that 7th or 8th spot for the first half. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how I think it shakes out. I think that they'll end up with the 8th seed.
Okay. I think there's going to be a couple people that think I'm crazy, and that they would probably choose the Sparks over the Liberty because the Sparks have way more experience. Again,
right? Yeah, they got the
Sparks
experience, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. Say it.
The Sparks got the experience, but the Liberty's just. I just think they'll get there. I think it's the Liberty's time to get that spot.
Right. I don't think this. I think the Sparks will be back next year. I just don't think this year is their year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I just don't think it's their year.
Like Candace Parker and all that.
Right. It's just weird because they got Nneka Ogwumike, Erica Wheeler, Amanda Zowie, Christy Tolliver, and Tia Cooper. Like, I'm just surprised they struggled as much as they have this year. Now, they are missing the other Ogwumike sister. She's hurt. She'll be out the rest of the year. But, I mean, the lineup that they have, the ones I just named, to me, that should be plenty.
Still pretty solid, yeah.
Right. But it's...
sometimes it just don't click.
It doesn't.
Players just don't click together. It's just not clicking without Candace Parker.
That's true. Honestly, that's probably what the biggest thing is. They're just missing Candace Parker. They're missing her leadership. Yeah. And I hate that for them, but I love it for the Sky.
Yeah.
I love it for the Sky, and that's the reason why I hope that they make a huge playoff run, because Candace Parker deserves that.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about, like, who we predict to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and the championship and all that right now?
No, we're gonna do that during our playoff predictions. But I will say, though, I will admit this: for my prediction for MVP this year, I had either Breanna Stewart or Asia Wilson repeating. But it should definitely be Tina Charles. It should definitely be Tina Charles, though.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if she can get the Mystics a higher seeding by the end of the year.
It's like the Bradley Beal factor, like the why Bradley Beal deserves to get some MVP recognition.
Kinda, sorta, but also listen, they're only at the 8th seed. If she can if she makes them a 4th or a 5th seed, there's no way that she didn't win.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If she because they're also missing. There's no Elena Deladon, so she's making up for not having Elena Deladon there, and I think she's doing a good job with it.
Yeah. I do think that Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart will be 2 and 3 though.
Oh yeah, for sure. But also I can't sleep on Jonquel Jones. I think I had Jonquel Jones 4th or 5th in my MVP race to start the year. But to me, right now she's definitely number 2.
You think she's 2?
I think she's number 2 for sure.
Asia Wilson? Oh, really?
Yes. I think she's number 2. Listen, Asia Wilson's team, Aces are stacked.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
She's doing good, but the Aces are stacked. You got her, Liz Cambage, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, De'Erica Hamby, Chelsea Gray. They stacked.
It's like you won't give KD MVP with Harden and Kyrie on his team.
Right, it's kind of like that. That's what I'm saying. They're stacked. Although it's not like the Sun don't have anybody. Again, they're the 3 seed. And you got Jonquel Jones, DeWanna Bonner, Breanna Jones, Jasmine Thompson. You got some really good players on that team too. But yeah, the Aces and the Aces in Seattle, they're stacked, man.
Adrian Wilson won last year, and she had the same thing. So you don't think she'll
True,
repeat?
but then I mean she could, but I honestly, to me, me personally, I give it to Tina Charles this year,
I would too.
especially if she's able to get them seated higher. Because I will say, I think Jonquel Jones can take it if she keeps the Connecticut Sun at that 3 seed.
Right.
She keeps them at that 3 seed. I do think that there's an argument that she should have it over Tina Charles.
What if Tina Charles gets them from the 8th seed to the 4th seed, and she still keeps the 3 seed?
Then I do think that Tina Charles will probably win it.
Yeah, got you. Yeah,
Moving them up 4 spots like that, especially without Elena Deladon, I think that's special.
But what if
What if Deladon comes back?
Yeah, what if she comes back?
I mean, depending on how she looks, because she's coming off a back injury, so I don't think that she'll be 100% herself. But if she is, and it does kind of take away from Tina Charles a little bit and her scoring output that she's had, then it might be Jonquel Jones still.
Okay, but what if? Well, hold on. Well, I was gonna say something else. David Dunn comes back and everything stays the same. No, so David Dunn doesn't come back, and Tina Charles still
averaging 26,
27 points a game, but they're still the 8 seed, and Jones gets their team at the 3 seed. No, yeah, Jones gets their team at the 3 seed.
Then I think there's a lot of people who are going to say Jonquel Jones for keeping her Connecticut Sun team the 3 seed throughout the whole season.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's a toss-up, though. It could be either or. I just think people will say Jonquel Jones, who's averaging like 22, so she's averaging a few points less than Tina Charles, but at the same time, she's also
a higher seed with a better
standard. And leading her team to a higher seed. So,
okay, so what if Tina Charles does get Elena Deladon back? They get to the fourth seed, but Jones is able to crack the top 2 seed.
Ooh, okay, now that's a good one. I don't know then. But if that's the case, then that means Jonquel Jones and the Connecticut Sun were able to overtake like the Aces of the Storm.
Yeah,
for that 2 seed.
So I give it to her.
Okay, I can see people arguing that though. That's what I'm saying. Like to me, it's between those two.
This is a good argument.
Again, Asia Wilson's having a great season. So is Brianna Stewart. So is Brittany Griner. But I just think, to me, so far, it's between Tina Charles and Jonquel Jones.
Got you.
So we'll see who wins it. I do think that the Mystics are going to be an interesting team to watch to see what happens with them. Definitely say the most fun teams to watch right now are the Lynx and the Liberty.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Liberty, watch them. Benaja Laney is going off. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really want to see if the Lynx can keep up that level of play that they have in the first half. I'm really hoping that Olympic break didn't hurt them, because that's the biggest thing. But we will see. You got anything else to add?
Nah, that's it. You got anything else?
No, that's it. Ready for the second half of the season. Can't wait to see what the seedings are like. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. This has been another episode of the Point Guy Cast. We'll see y'all next time.